Hello, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summit presentation of the Starladder I-League 13 Chinese Division. We're going to be looking at Insane Buster versus FTD.B here in the group stages. We've got ourselves a best of two between these two teams, and I'm actually pretty excited for it. Insane Buster is kind of a bunch of new players on the rise. I think we've seen a few of them here and there throughout some different teams, but not too much competitive experience compared to FTD.B, who have been mix and matching their support staff and just a lot of other players across the board. And they've actually been collaborating really well in this B team for FTD. I've been enjoying seeing them rock the group stages so far here in Starladder, and so far it's been pretty up and up for them. I think they're going to be doing really well going into Phase 2. But let's go ahead and jump into the draft and see how this game is going to play out. So, for starters here, I want to note that Snap bans coming from Insane Buster, immediately banning out Doom and Slardar, and this is interesting because of the fact that they are first pick. So while the normal drafting mentality would be for the first pick to force the second pick team to ban out Slardar and Doom or the like, so that you can ban out heroes that are more
reserve time.
Systematically potent for the enemy team, for FTD Club specifically, the heroes that they like to play with. You usually take advantage of that because the enemy is definitely forced to ban Doom. He's still really strong, and then the Slardar is a very high tier pick as well. If they don't, then obviously you get one of those two. But in this case, they ban it for themselves, which either means that they don't like to play those types of heroes in their drafts, or they want to see something a little bit different here and kind of mix up the pool overall. Darkseer and Dawn going to be the bans from FTD.B, and that leaves us with a first pick Night Stalker, responded to with a Shadow Fiend Tusk, and now the Batrider coming out in Phase 1. These guys are already really just flipping the script on FTD.B and showing something a little bit unique. So I'm excited to see what they are going to accomplish. LT here drafted up some interesting picks here.
Team pick.
So, Phase 2, we did see the Gyrocopter, Juggernaut bans, those major safe lane pickups. So the Ember Spirit still goes through for FTD.B. They're pretty confident in running Ember safe and Shadow Fiend mid. And then TA and Quap are actually the bans from FTD.B as they're focusing on winning out that mid matchup. They know that Templar Assassin, or in particular, is going to have a good time against Shadow Fiend, but Queen of Pain is stronger because of the Night Stalker pickup. When you have Shadow Strike and Void to gank on the SF, you can run him down with kills left, right, and center. What I'm interested in is that the Spirit Breaker actually hasn't been picked up yet. Pretty strong against both teams. It's hard to get a Void on the Spirit Breaker if you're not already lining it up. And then the Ember Spirit's really the only cancel right now for the Charge of Darkness on the side of the Radiant. So I think Spirit Breaker could be good to run over the Shadow Fiend. But you'd have to switch the Night Stalker to an off lane, and that would put the Batrider in a weird spot. Right now, Batrider is either a mid laner or an off laner. I personally prefer it mid a little bit, but I could see it working in the off lane still. You have to have a good laning phase. You don't get to fall back into the jungle, but if you have a little bit of support down there, you get some good wards to block out the Radiant spawn camps, that's going to be a pretty good time for you. And then, of course, you can Firefly over things like the Ice Shards, so he's not obstructed by such things such as that. For those that actually don't know, the drafter here for Insane Buster, LT, he actually played for Energy Pacemaker Gaming. So, if anybody watched EP, they actually did some good work throughout, I believe, like TI qualifiers and stuff like that. They had members such as Old Chicken and Fan, who have found themselves in other teams now. So it's interesting seeing these guys spread their wings a little bit here. But yeah, LT played with Zhao Tulei and all them, and now they're finding themselves here. So I'm curious what that actually means for his future and how he works with his team dynamic. Anyways, we've got Dazzle picked up, and since then, not too much happening in the draft. Reserve time tapped down to the last 8 seconds here. FTD.B puzzled with how they want to proceed. I think they were debating going for one of the 2 Batrider counters. Actually, 3 Batrider counters now that I think about it. You've got Wisp, who can counter it with Relocate Tether. You can get Abaddon, which counters it with the Aphotic Shield. You can get Vengeful, which can do the Nether Swap to break the lasso. And the final thing would actually be, technically you can go Legion Commander, but I don't think it works really well with the draft that they have in their hands. so they probably wouldn't have gone for that option. Instead, they go for the Bane, and while you might be able to get a Nightmare off on the Batrider when he jumps in, it's unlikely, so I'm curious what they're going to do to respond to the lasso threat, if anything at all. Interestingly enough, we're actually going to see Huskar picked up here for Insane Buster, so not only going with the early Batrider pick, but now closing up Phase 2 with a Huskar. Shadow Fiend has negative armor with the presence of Dark Lord. Tusk has a decent amount of physical damage burst. Bane has pure damage. I don't think that Huskar has that much to offer to this draft. Obviously, he has the Shallow Grave behind him, so he's going to be fine there. Weave defensively can make up for all those armor issues. But end of the day, you have to really be confident in your Huskar player in order to pick something like this. They do get the AA band after the fact, so they're not worried about that. But yeah, it's got to be some really good armlet toggling and just overall really good play coming in from him. And we're just going to see a Nyx pick up here for FTD.B. They ban out the Tiny, interestingly enough. Just a random Tiny in this draft could make a burst potential really quick. I mean, Netstalker, burst damage with maybe the Life Break or the Avatos, oh my. But they'll take that out, they'll go for the Nyx Assassin here. And Nyx is pretty solid overall offlaner, should be able to get some good work done, but whether or not he gets the chance to assassinate the Dazzle is what I'm looking for here. I think Batrider and Nightstalker are two of the heroes you see have a true sight on the earliest, so not going to be able to rely on that Invis after the mid-game, and he's got to really drain the economy of the Dazzle early. Same Buster, they're looking for their last support, I think, so well, they could still run the Nightstalker support. It's not that greedy. And if that was the case, then they'd be actually looking for somebody who farms a lot, actually, because they don't have anybody that really flash farms creeps right now, and you know that the Ember Spirit is going to look for like BOTs and start pushing out waves. So you need wave clear. You need somebody that farms creeps quickly, and we're going to see 40 seconds left on the clock for Insane Buster to make their decision there. Overall, Insane Buster show that they like to pick up some unique things. They picked up Pugna recently, couple of Silencer and Phoenix picks, even a Medusa a little while back. But here we see the Invoker, and they're just showing this very dynamic style that I love to see. A lot of confidence in their players, I would say. That's more than anything else. It's heroes that you're very infrequently practiced against because you just don't see them that often, maybe in pubs. But beyond that, it could be a lot of different things. Do you have a quick disconnect? This doesn't bode well for the perfect world connectivity, but before I restart, I'm going to at least make sure that things are lagging. I don't want to waste anybody's time and miss the first minute or two of the match just on a whim. So we'll try to connect in, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting that perfect world lag, and if that's the case, then I'll go ahead and do a quick reconnect. But just to show you guys and take a look at it here, if I can even move my camera. There we go. It looks okay for now. We'll see. We'll try it out. See how it plays out. Alright, here we are. Double Mango on the Nyx Assassin, one on the Ember. Anything else interesting? No Tally start on the Invoker.
30 seconds to battle.
And Batrider's got some wards for himself. So right now, Observer Ward placed out here by the Nyx Assassin, just getting information more than anything else. You can put this ward really far to the east if you want, like over here even. It won't ever see the rune, but you can get however much information you want out of that kind of pickup. Otherwise, they're trying to cover the Shadow Fiend in mid with a ward here, so the Nightstalker has a harder time finding those ganks. Even Batrider sometimes roams, so you always have to be on the lookout. Anyways, down the bottom rune, it looks to be the most interesting spot. We actually see a Sentry Ward in a perfect position to D-Ward, and this camp will not be blocked out. Sleight of Fist Snatch attempt coming in from the Ember Spirit. Skill Slight level 1, it goes for this. If there is a unit in the radius of the slight, he'll jump and have his body, his hero, in that space for a fraction of a second where he can spam, click that bounty, and maybe even steal it. But instead it's going to go 1 for 1, 1 bounty for the Shadow Fiend, 1 bounty for the Invoker, and that means that the Ember is sitting on a point of Sleight of Fist here in a 2v2 lane. That's a little bit awkward. Magic Stick status, right now just the Mango, no Magic Sticks for either the Bane or the Ember, so it could be some real problems here, because Sleight of Fist does nothing in this situation to help the Bane, but he tries to turn around against the Napalm. We're just seeing a lot of damage put out against them. He's being slowed down significantly. You can't turn and fight this, you just have to keep running. They won't run him down under the tower, though. That's where they'll draw the line. Not a single tower hit actually going their way. So they're just suppressing the lane right now, and they can do this pretty freely until the Magic Sticks come out. That's when their spellcasting starts kind of any wasteful spells start playing against them. Hitagi will make his way back down. He was trying to cover the CS for the mid lane to help Shadow Fiend out, but it looks like SF is kind of on his own. Only 2 stacks of Necromastery now. As the Invoker with Exhort has pretty good right click, and he's going to be scaling up Alacrity here, and just absolutely dominating the lane from here. So yeah, look at this damage. This guy hits for actually nearly 100. 98 damage per hit on average, and he's just going to dominate the CS war, which means life's hard for a Shadow Fiend with only 2 souls. In the meantime, though, that's the Tusk had to rotate bottom, or the Ember Spirit would get nothing, and so it's a trade-off here if the Shadow Fiend gets farmed or the Ember does. And I think the Shadow Fiend has better comeback than the Ember Spirit. Just get level 7 on SF, and you'll be able to farm stacks. Even level 5, SF can still find something. 100% deny on a couple of dire creeps here. It makes Nyx very sad, though. He wants to get level 6 fast, he wants to gain momentum, he wants to find kills. Speaking of kills, this could be our first blood. It is going to be a lot of damage, but Night Stalker seems to be tanky enough. No, he gets caught in the Nightmare, and now they'll Brain Sap right-click him down. Hitagi drawing the first blood. So, good catch out there with the Ice Shards. Oh, that is a nice little Cold Snap here under tower, and we're going to see Shadow Fiend lose over half his health and have to salve up. So Invoker really controlling this lane well. 8-5 versus 4-1. Shadow Fiend really has a lot of ground to recover, but we're going to see the Tusk come through. Hitagi going in with the Snowball Ice Shards. There's the Ice Shards, and yeah, that will be the death of the Invoker, since he really doesn't have any defensive spell to use here. So, noting the weak point of the Arsenal Magus is just, he's vulnerable. He's gone for an offensive build in terms of last hitting, and really only has the Cold Snap to work with. He could invoke a level 1 Tornado, but it's not very effective. Ghostwalk's an option too, but just he didn't have time. Very quick kill coming in from the Tusk there. And probably that's the weakness of this Observer Ward in particular. It'll not see anything coming from the bottom, just the top. So you can see like a Nyx Assassin roaming in, or you can see a support flank coming in. But if they just brute force it right down the eastern side, then they're always going to find that kill. And we might see that happening again pretty soon. I would say it's wise to pick up Dust on Hitagi, though. The Tusk needs to find that kill on the Invoker every time. Can't risk the Invis letting it get away. Anyways, Batrider level 3 goes for the 1-0-2. I think he'll go Opponent Flame Break next, so a 1-1-2 build. It creates a lot of kill possibilities when he has mana available. In the meantime, though, Magic Stick is up for the Ember, but the Bane is just going for the boots, and not even upgrading the Courier yet. It's 4 minutes in, Dire has a Flying Courier, but Radiant does not, and it looks like Bane's going to focus on that first, while the Tusk does his own thing. So, yeah, I think the bottom lane is going to get really hard for FTD as this time progresses, and they can't really punish it up top. Huskar is going to always win his lane. Just easy use of the Burning Spears on the Nyx Assassin Carapace does very little in this kind of situation with so much damage over time. So he can never get in Huskar's attack range, and therefore he's just getting experience and like 4 CS. Here in mid, we do have a Nightmare coming out, double raise available, the Snowball, and the kill. Very nicely done. Again, no time to invoke the Ghost Walk. So, Night Stalker comes in here at night, tries to be involved, tries to make a difference, but in the end, the Invoker is just too vulnerable right now. Another thing about this ward is it doesn't even see the enemy high ground, so you can have people posturing up here at night, and that's problematic. Cole really just has to start babysitting mid. And a huge stack coming out. They string the creeps out, and they are able to find a really nice stack here. That's a quad stack for the Shadow Fiend on his hard camp, which he'll be farming up very, very soon. M31, the Batrider with the Tranquil Boots. Now pretty much independent. As long as you got Tranquils, you're able to get out to the creep wave, but it looks like he's a little bit worried about getting picked off by the Snowball initiation. But we're going to actually see that initiation change gears, look up top. There is no Ice Shards here, but they do have 2 stuns. I thought I saw another TP, but Bane must have... no, never mind. Just those 2.
Short-sighted of you. If I can't have
So James is taking the lane while Shadow Fiend goes around the jungle. He's just looking for level 7. One more creep kill, he gets level 7, and then he takes his hard camp. And this is going to give Bane his early Fiend's Grip. And we're going to see Nyx Assassin, nice usage of the Spike Carapace there on the life break. Normally, what you'll see is the Huskar go for one Burning Spear attack and then go for the Life Break, and the Carapace will likely reflect just a Piddly spell instead of the Life Break itself. But now Huskar reflects it then and there, and takes a lot more damage than he normally would. So good usage there from the Nyx Assassin. I'm actually wondering if the Magic Meaning of Life Break makes it so that that wouldn't actually work. If you time it perfectly and you Burning Spear and then Life Break, I think he's immune to Carapace, and therefore it wouldn't reflect until the Life Break instance of damage. I'll have to test that out later. Anyways, we got Phase Boots soon on the Invoker. He's just trying to do the best he can with all these ganks going against him. This Shadow Fiend has really come back, though. Clears out that quad stack of hard camp creeps, and you'll see he's now back top of the net worth, despite having a really slow roll with the early souls. Up top, they've got the Tusk involved, but since he's only level 3, I think you can kill a Dazzle, but it's very unlikely you'll kill a Huskar, especially with the Shallow Grave waiting. Cole getting some solo experience, and Batrider just taking over the jungle. Mud Golem's not the best to farm, to be honest, but he'll do his best, and it will take them down gradually as he keeps the napalm rolling. So, early Courier just going to bring out the armlet here for the Huskar. It looks like he has no gloves of haste. He'll get that from the side shop shortly. And there you go.
Got it.
Whose blades are those? Oh, that's the Phase Boots skip. Alrighty, so far, not too much action happening. Net worth and experience pretty much even here. Only 3 kills on the board, but I would say that Insane Buster are still doing better work in terms of their overall farm. You see the CS, Huskar's winning. The Batrider is clearly getting more than the Nyx Assassin in terms of off lane. And now it's daytime, where the Daywalker doesn't really accomplish as much. In fact, probably gets soloed here. He has a TP, so if he TPs immediately, he's fine. But otherwise, Ember Spirit definitely could just go for a triple remnant or a double remnant on him. So I think that's what we're going to see here. He's going to go and just silence TP away. But even that just forces the Night Stalker back home with little cost to the Ember Spirit. Okay, converging here with a smoke play. They couldn't really go for Roshan, but it looks like they want to kill somebody as soon as they TP bottom. They expect somebody to TP against the Ember Spirit. That's a very reasonable thing to happen. It's just going to be the Night Stalker running bottom, but +1 should be coming soon. Batrider, yeah, he's getting his mana up. He should be the one to TP. But now they see the Shadow Fiend, although the Tusk is still under smoke. So how many heroes do they plan to rotate for this? Atagi, now visible to the Dire, so that Snowball won't catch them off guard. Arcane Boots up for Nyx. A lot of mana to work with, as he has the 2 Mangos as backups. Means he can just start Vendettaing around, scout out the stacks of the Batrider, and maybe even find a killing flank.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
So the reason the Nyx Assassin pick is actually strong here is because you can actually get some good stuns against the Batrider. All you do when the Batrider goes in for his pickoff, the normal Batrider pickoff is blinking in, going for the Flaming Lasso, and fire flying away, possibly with a Force Staff. But if you use Firefly to get over cliffs and such, then you're going to be leaving a trail of flame, which the Nyx can just sit in, pop Carapace, and stun you at least once. Then he follows it up with the Impale, and you really don't change the positioning of that target. You just lock them down for a short time span. And so that's pretty good. And the Life Break again reflected here. So Nyx now actually can go pretty hard on the Huskar, but he still has that armlet. He still has the Inner Vitality, so it wouldn't be the right play. Considering it, he really needs a +1, and I don't think that's going to surprise people, because this Observer Ward would see it. This Tire Vision is actually pretty insane right now. Ember Spirit's got his BOTs. Looking over at overall net worth, though, it's going to be Shadow Fiend that's the top dog. He is picking up a mech, right? Yep. Buckler already acquired. And that's what I was talking about. Nyx moving in for the stacks, but he's just going to pat M31 on the back. Not even. And then just go ahead and maybe reconvene with some allies. So, low impact from the Night Stalker, but he'll give them some good vision control later. The Dazzle here is only level 5, but that's still better than you normally see. in a more difficult laning phase. Mech advantage is going to be something that FTD want to take advantage of, though. They want to push when they have that mechanism, and they want to really exploit the fact that there's going to be no mech on the Dire for a very long time, if at all. Yeah, the Huskar's going for the Helm of the Dominator, so no mech from him. Which is actually, it's not a joke. Mech on Huskar is actually not bad at all. It makes up for a lot of what he's lacking. Burst healing at low HP, and then, of course, the armor. But Mech SF is what we're looking at here, and a Blink Batrider. Man, he's just farmed just enough creeps to pick this up at a really good time here. 11-minute Blink Dagger coming out for Bat, and they're trying to find their first kill with it through smoke. They have Darkness, so if you look at Radiant Vision, they are blind as bats right now. They cannot see anything in front of them. So the Batrider, Night Stalker, ganking duo, going to look for an opportunity. But in the meantime, the FTD.B here with the flank. They've still got their smoke. While they don't have any vision, thanks to the darkness, they actually are still all grouped together. The Ember Spirit might bait this one out. They're going to move on the Ember Spirit, and they're going to have 3 people right behind him. This could be a great opportunity, but it looks like Insane Buster are asking themselves the right question of, why is this Ember here? Why? There's no way he's looking for a rune and sitting around so long. He's got to have teammates behind him. So they look around, they think about it a little bit more, and in the end they don't fall for the bait. So, Earn for Tusk, Dominator up for Huskar, so you can keep doing Huskar things. You can actually solo Roshan with just these 2 items alone, but I'm assuming FTD will try to keep like a Remnant in the pit or something to keep tabs on that.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, Force Staff for the Invoker, pretty good pickup just to open with. You're always going to have a bunch of people just running over. He's the highest priority kill target. So the Invoker needs to be able to disengage away from all these disables, and maybe through Ice Shards or Searing Chains. So it'll be a good pickup for him. And in the meantime, it looks like the Nyx is rapidly approaching his Blink Dagger of his own. 860 gold after picking up the Arcanes. That's not too shabby at all. But really, overall, just low kill contact. Both teams have tons of kill potential, and I think both sides are just mutually respecting the other's ability to turn the fight against them. Overall, I would say passivity favors the Radiant for the moment, but I think Dire are just waiting for a power spike. When they get a little bit stronger, they can build themselves up and start taking better fights. For now, FTD, they're just in a farm fest. Or at least they intend to be. Ember's been just kind of chilling here for a while. So, one thing to note is this Invoker didn't go for Midas. Passivity would be better for Insane Buster if they had a Midas on the Invoker and were building him up. But because he's just going for Force Staff and looking to avoid a quick kill, it does mean that he's not going to be able to profit as much over time. And Midas is actually a really important item on Invoker, so the fact that he's skipping it is a very intentional decision, and while it does help his combat potential now, is he can Force Staff the Batrider to help for the pickoff, or he can Force Staff himself to keep himself alive. It still means that they are lacking in some capacities. And they really don't have the late game by comparison. We'll see the Fire Remnant in the pit scouting out this Huskar, and immediately Huskar is going to have to start backing off, or they're going to debate the fight here. They've got the weave on Huskar, he'll have plenty of armor, but really it comes down to this Batrider and this Invoker, how they perform here. And you shouldn't have Alacrity invoked. It's only a level 1 Exordic Alacrity, so immediately should turn that into an EMP or a Tornado, because you need it for the next fight that's guaranteed happening. There's no Sentry Ward in play right now, so we're going to see the Nyx Assassin move in freely, try to assassinate, and the Invoker should be the kill target. But he's got that Force Staff, forcing away from the Snowball, and that means the fight's going to break down at the bottom rune. An early Grave coming out on the Huskar, but he's just going to keep on fighting, goes for the Armlet and the Inner Vit, and he should be able to fight through it all. Not at the fight for FTD, unfortunately. They lose. They just focus too much on the Invoker, who was able to disengage. And while that's the trade-off, right? Like, you don't get a Midas, but you get a hell of a good item to control positioning, and Invoker just does that. So the Huskar can fight against the other 3 heroes and absolutely destroy them. So they'll take Roshan one way or another, and on top of that, put the first 3 kills on the board for Insane Buster. Now this is their next power spike. For the next 5 minutes, they're so much stronger than FTD, it's ridiculous. There's no way you kill Huskar twice. And so he's just going to be forcing down towers as quick as can be. I mean, I would still argue the Invoker wasn't ready for that fight, but they clearly didn't need him to have everything. Just one tornado was plenty. Hell, even the Shallow Grave didn't need to be there. Huskar just a pretty solid fourth pick here. The Nyx counter is the Bat, but only slightly a hindrance to the Huskar with that Vendetta strike. Honestly, I would have preferred them to shift the Tusk into the offlane and farm up the Silver Edge on that hero. And then go for some magical damage on an offlaner or something. But, you know, there's a lot of ways to try to address the threats, and this is FTD.B's best attempt. Invoker, is he going back for the Hit Midas? It looks like he is. Interesting decision, and it obviously paid off. Like, he won them the fight by just keeping them away and kiting them with the Force Staff. So if he can go back for the Midas, still he gets to have the Hand of Midas, he can have his cake and eat it too. As he now is no longer an easy kill target, but he also gets to build up his experience towards level 25, which is where he has his greatest potential. Now we're going to see what looks like Hitagi just moving into ward over here, and instead he's actually looking for a gank opportunity with the help of the Nyx Assassin. But it's unlikely they'll just go for a single TP. They've got an Aegis, so they want to keep 5-banning. That ward does get dropped down in a pretty good position here, and we'll see if they can find a gank with that later. For now, though, the Radiant top tower has fallen. Midas is in the hands of the Invoker, and the SF and the Ember aren't finding the best trade here, though they are doing the best they can. Sanj, probably into Halberd. The evasion's great, and honestly the disarm is one of the better things against heroes like Ember Spirit. Sometimes you use it in the SF too. And they're gonna just... They cannot trade bases. They can't do that. They don't have enough damage. Even though Huskar doesn't really attack that fast, with Alacrity, or he doesn't crush buildings that hard, just with his armlet and with Alacrity, he's still going to be able to take down this tower a little bit faster. Now, we are seeing things like the Bane's Nightmare coming in, but he hasn't skilled Enfeeble. And we are just seeing this two-man squad take a single tower, but suddenly coming in the Bat Rider, he's going to be able to pull the Shadow Fiend away. And we're actually going to see a fight break out on the top lane as well. While the Shadow Fiend can't TP it in to help, we're going to see the Tusk go down, have to buy back, and the Nyx Assassin has fallen as well. He got, I think, offensively force-staffed into a really bad position. There's no way he would choose to be that far forward with this under the Sentry Ward. So he got caught by the Sentry Ward, force-staffed forward, and gets killed off. But bottom lane, there is some damage coming into this melee racks, and the Bat Rider is really low on HP. Invoker has rotated over, though. They're going to make sure these racks stand. In the meantime, up top, looks like Insane Buster have been repelled by the sunlight. But they've taken the melee racks, and that's the difference there. Sure, unmolested, Shadow Fiend and Ember Spirit can do a little bit more tower DPS, thanks to the Bane's Nightmares and stuff, but honestly, they lost out on this trade. Although it's really hard to fight into Aegis, it's still an ineffectual defense as they split their damage on the range and the melee. If they just focused the range, they would have had it. If they just focused the melee, I'm not sure. But end of the day, they split their damage, and both stand. And Huskar still has the Aegis for a little bit here. It's actually going to be expiring in just a minute, so 65 seconds, probably not going to be a timing window they can really push for. I don't know. Overall, I think FTD didn't want to risk the 5-on-5. They knew that they were at a disadvantage because this is where the Aegis becomes so important on the Huskar. He just goes in halfway to your fountain and just zones you out from there. You can't fight into that easily. You can't kill him twice. So I can understand why they made the decision they did, but at the end of the day, it is them losing out a little bit here. And we're seeing just overall the graphs reflecting that. 4,200 net worth, over 1,000 experience. Still favoring Insane Buster, but hey, if you can keep split pushing and find a Rax a little bit later, still might be worthwhile. In the grander scheme of things, like if we're just looking beyond what happened in that last engagement, but if we just take a look at the state of the game, I think FTD.B are not out of this by any stretch. They just got two great fighting items on the Shadow Fiend, the Mechanism and BKB, they're getting more and more potential to burst down the targets that they want to. Not necessarily the Huskar, because he's so tanky that it might not even be worth it to put any damage into him. But if you just burst down the Dazzle, and then start scattering the rest of Insane Burster from there, or Insane Buster, yeah, that could be pretty effective. And they've got like the blink on Nyx to do that. They're gonna have the Battle Fear and the Ember. So the way I see it, they are. It's not just that they traded one Rax in a tier 3 for a tier 3. Is that they're only one Rax down, and we're about to see the first Aegis go away. Yeah, the first Aegis is now gone. So we're gonna see that Insane Buster have to start really pressing for a little bit more momentum now. They have more to get accomplished in the next 5 minutes than FTD. FTD can just rest on their laurels, split push, farm the waves out as quick as possible, and just overall feel pretty good about themselves. They're pushing mid, they're pushing top, but now this is where it's kind of make or break time. Insane Buster doesn't have the Aegis, but they still have Huskar on the high ground. We've racking up a bonus armor of plus 25, but we're going to see Nyx come in, take out about half his HP. The Shallow Grave is going to come out with the Fiend's Grip here. So there's going to be the Huskar that will back off, pop his armor, and maybe look to go even further in. We'll see as Tusk gets taken out really quickly, but the BKB, huge Requiem coming out, and Nyx kills off the Huskar with that Vendetta. So great usage of the final physical damage burst, and that's going to just knock them all out, taking down the Night Stalker and the Huskar. The Tusk kind of suicidal play, but it worked out the way they needed it to. He didn't do any damage there, actually. Just got completely caught out, but all the same, really good damage coming in with the Shadow Fiend Requiem, and of course the follow-through from the Nyx Assassin. That's what they needed. So they'll hold their bottom lane, and that's really, I mean, people will say it was like a foolhardy approach to go in without Aegis, but they really, I think, Dire feel like they're on the clock. Insane Buster don't have a great lineup as the game progresses. Sure, level 25 Invoker is amazing. Bat Rider is a great late game hero too, but their damage is not scalable, is the best way I can put it. Their late game disable and control spells are amazing, but their damage output is going to get weaker and weaker. We're actually going to see here Gem on the Night Stalker, so Nyx has to play very carefully here. One thing that is helping the Dire is that they do have still 2 Midases. Invoker has found himself level 13 off his Hand of Midas, and Night Stalker, I think that's his second transmute there. So you'll see an overall experience advantage actually swing thanks to those kills. Net worth still kind of lagging behind. So now the next Roshan. This is, again, another big timing period. They don't Remnant the Pit? Interesting. I guess what he wants to do is go back, farm a wave, and jump out and throw a Remnant then. I'm not too sure, but it's an interesting approach here, going for the Invis Flame Guard just to clear out the waves without having any risk. If the Night Stalker is close enough to get the True Sight on you, then he's not going to be able to catch you out, because you're going to see him too. So they go for a different method. They just Sunstrike the pit. Oh wait, that's the Dire, never mind. Anyways, we're going to see them go into the pit here. Radiant are going to just send the Sigil in to scout this thing out. And this definitely should be a heavily contested Roshan. The big problem here is mana on the Ember, but he's gotten enough just with the rune refill, the bounty rune picked up on the top. So, it's a Roshan that will not be contested, actually. They were really afraid of the Bat Rider pulling somebody up on the cliff, and of course, fighting Invoker in a choke point. Those two factors make it hard to contest, and they'll just let it go. But now is a time where, like, I've been leading up to this for a long, long time. I feel like they were too weak to fight up top. FTD was too weak to fight up top. Insane Buster were too weak to fight down bottom. But now, with the Aegis and with the Satanic, it's actually almost impossible for FTD.B to hold in this position. Like, they have to completely ignore the Huskar and just fight around him, even despite him doing so much damage. They're going to have to buy back for this as well, so you're going to have to keep an eye on the 3 buybacks they do have available. It is interesting, however, that the Huskar is not picking up a Reaver just yet. He has 700 gold short, but they're going in first before he even gets to pick up such a key item. But takes at least a tier 3, the Alacrity helping out here. I think do they still have a Wolf? Oh, they go in the backline, kill off the Dazzle. There's the Assassination Squad I was talking about with that Blink Dagger on Nyx. They will just go ahead and Requiem with the Fiend's Grip on Huskar, right-click him down, but they're really not focusing him at all. He has that Aegis. They don't want to pop it at this stage in the fight, and they've lost their Ember Spirit on the backline. Hitagi now in some real trouble as well, getting right-click down, but he will Glimmer Cape away and pop a Healing Salve, of all things. Now Huskar has the Satanic, just got it off the Courier, and goes in on the Barracks. So now he's got massive lifesteal. This does not cost any mana. So unless something awkward happens, he should be able to sustain through the next fight. He might just lifesteal off the Centaurs here. Okay, he's going to do it on to... Oh! Well, we're going to see a little stun here, Mana Burn. And that's during the Satanic. He actually doesn't get much out of the Satanic, just 2 hits in there. And they're going to even Nightmare him now. They're just kind of trying to ignore him as best they can and wait out the Aegis. They Fiend's Gripped him last fight, they'll Nightmare him this one, and they'll just try to ignore him and focus everybody else. Right now they're poking and prodding, looking for an easier pick. It's going to be the Invoker that they want to focus down. The Night Stalker falls, the gem hits the deck, and finally they do Brain Sap to pop the Huskar's second life. He doesn't have a Blink Dagger. They do have a Force Staff, but it's on cooldown, which means Huskar has to fight up against so many disables. Those Shallow Grave, and he'll keep fighting, but in the end, he's got to get this Satanic out. Inner Vitality Satanic is going to be his saving grace here. He goes ahead, right-clicks down. The Shadow Fiend is now back at half HP. The Shadow Fiend being the main source of damage against him. It's going to be hard for FTD.B to finish this one off. M31 pops the BKB in the backline, and is getting his lasso back off. The lasso killed off Ember once. Can it do it again? He'll get the lasso and pull him out of the base here. Huskar will focus him down, and that is going to be the second death of the Ember Spirit to that flaming lasso. Shadow Fiend buys back, trying to do what he can. It might be enough to kill off the Huskar. It will be a 522 gold bounty spilled by the Shadow Fiend with buyback penalty. That is with buyback penalty that he loses that. It otherwise would have been closer to 1,500 gold out of the Huskar's pocket, as he's just so big. But alas, we're gonna see. Shadow Fiend, don't farm those. Those are not okay. He wants 8 gold, 8 and 10 gold creep bounties. Why not? But you know. Anyways, they repelled them. That's more important than anything else right now, is they will repel them, they will hold their mid lane, even against the Satanic. That was, I would say, the strongest point Insane Buster has been this entire game. They take the bottom lane of Rax. I think they get a little bit more damage on the top, not really. But they only force 1 buyback, and that doesn't set the Shadow Fiend back that much. If he just focuses on physical damage now, I think that they can maybe deal with this Huskar. Glimmer Cape even. Wow. I'm not sold on that. I liked the idea of the Force Staff into Midas. I think Phase Drum is great on the hero. Heck, I'll even go along with the Orchid, since the Ember Spirit can't do anything about it. But I stopped being a believer in this Invoker build when he picks up the Glimmer Cape. Like, he is now 6-slotted, but most of his items are about 2k in value. 1,500, I think it's 1,850. But at least the Orchid, like I said, I'm a believer in that one, as he's going to drop it here. Actually getting baited in, the Nyx Assassin comes in, and Ember Spirit will now have his spell casting available, but they don't have detection. And it looks like he'll just actually lose out. No, the Glimmer Cape's not enough to get him away. Invoker will fall, and the Dire can't get in close enough, fast enough to help him out. We're going to see James just pop himself away with the Glimmer Cape, but I think there's detection. Yeah, the Geometry Sight is on the Bat Rider, so the Bane will be run down. And in the meantime, we're going to see the Huskar jump very deep here, trying to kill off the Ember Spirit, who has no remnants left. But there's going to be a Huskar, kind of lagging out there, but he is going to be disabled momentarily, now going hard onto the Nyx Assassin. You just can't kite this guy. He'll keep jumping on you. And in this, they pick up 2 for 1. So I guess the one thing I can say about the Glimmer Cape there is it did buy some extra time. He would have been dead a lot sooner, and that fight wouldn't have happened the same way. But Nyx buys back, and they're going to look to hold the high ground once more. Battle Fury and crit, allowing him to just slice and dice this creep wave rapidly. But yeah. The Orchid's nice for solo picks. It's a really good in Wex Invoker in general, but it's usually an item you want to get first. Getting it at this stage, you're going to have less pick-off opportunities in general. And of course, you already have the Crippling Fear and the Night Stalker, though that's a lot harder to get in range for than a Ghost Walking Force Staffing Invoker. Anyways, I think right now M31 really want to pick off, but they have no Dire Observer Ward, and they have no Aghanim's on the Night Stalker. So actually getting intel as far as where somebody's positioned in order to pick them off is not really common. There's even this Observer Ward seeing the movements here from the outside of the base, so they're going to know where they need to position. And actually there's a weave defensively. It looks like they're going to go for the siege here. The last one will just pull the Nyx Assassin out, and they'll silence and kill off the Nyx Assassin who just bought back. That is going to be a buyback death on the Nyx Assassin. Now they can just focus down the carries. Ember Spirit on the back line here doing what he can, but he's going to be focused down. Oh, the Tornado should deliver the killing blow. In fact, it's going to be Ember buying back, doing what he can, but Shadow Fiend is now the main target. Popping his BKB and mech, but it won't be enough to keep him alive. Huskar is still alive and kicking, and the Ember just can't do enough single target damage. He's got to get the Slight on the creep wave here, and that's what's going to happen with the Nightmare. Going for the Slight, looking for the crits, but it doesn't happen. Only one crit in the bunch, and it's a lesser crit at that. So there it is. GG is called. That's going to be the remaining racks falling to the Huskar, as honestly FTD just didn't have enough single target kill potential. The dieback on the Nyx Assassin there loses them the Vendetta, which loses them their ability to bring down the Huskar. It was really a close game. FTD showed multiple times over that they were willing and able to bring it back from the brink, using their high ground defense skills. All they needed to just bring down one or two heroes. They isolated the Dazzle in one fight, they isolated the Invoker in another. Really good play there, but in that last fight, it was IB who dictated the course of play as they got the BKB Blink Lasso on the Nyx Assassin. Bat Rider, they didn't really have an answer for the Bat Rider when he finally had a BKB. I think that's another factor. They had Walrus Punch, they had Fiend's Grip, but we really didn't see either of those come to the Nyx's aid. So I feel like this was a very interesting step function of a game, which kind of gave a little bit of back and forth to either side. There were times where FTD were able to defend a lot better. They were never able to go on the offense in this game. Only split push and only on defense. But their defense at many times this game was stronger than that of IB. The problem is that Batrider is a base breaker. He's able to find those ways to penetrate your lineup, and if you can't control him when he does so, he's just going to tear right through you. And that Nyx Assassin death obviously was the first of those steps there. I really like how Insane Buster kept continuous pressure. I obviously think in hindsight they should have looked at avoiding the bottom lane fight that they lost without the Aegis, but at the same time, I can understand why they were so impetuous about their assault and siege on the Radiant base. So they take the top lane really efficiently in that trade where the Batrider goes back. That's the beginning of the end for FTD.B, as their other defenses just couldn't cut it. Well, that's going to wrap up Game 1 for us here on Starletter I-League 13 China, but we got one more game to close out the night here. The second game of this Best of 2 series is going to be coming at you in just a few minutes. So thanks once again for tuning in. I'm myself and Blaze. It's closing in on 4 a.m., so getting a little tired, but I'll try to keep the hype